Hi everyone. So this video is about my intentions to change my voter registration and vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the Democratic primaries. Crazy, I know. I've been a libertarian for 3 years now, since 2020. I've volunteered with the party. I've done a ton to try to promote the ideas of liberty and everything. But like I've always said, health freedom comes first, libertarianism comes second. So, who in the Libertarian Party can honestly say that they did anywhere near as much to promote health freedom as Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? I can't think of anyone. I can't think of a Republican. I can't think of a Libertarian. I can't think of another Democrat. I probably can't think of another living human being. If you can, let me know in the comments. But this is where I'm at right now. I was a registered Republican all prior until registering as a libertarian. I've never voted Democrat that I ever remember. And this is a first for me, but I feel pretty good about it. And here's why. If you guys haven't had a chance, definitely check out his book, The Real Anthony Fauci. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been, obviously, he's a generational Democrat. He was always going to run Democrat. His father was a Democrat. His uncle was a Democrat. But this book talks about basically all of the corruption that he's witnessed over the past about 40 years. He talks about Anthony Fauci, CDC, all kinds of corruption with the WHO worldwide and how they've harmed children and used people basically to experiment on. So read this book or download it on Audible because it's definitely invaluable in kind of getting to know him as a person. Besides that, I've watched so many of his videos. You know, he's done interviews with all kinds of people. He's done podcast episodes. He has an entire website called Children's Health Defense that I read their articles constantly. He does so much to try to promote the idea of safety in the products that the doctors want us to inject in our children. He was one of the only people who, is big in politics that actually traveled around during 2020 to 2021 to all to different states to promote the idea of health freedom and support those bills. He actually came here to Louisiana and gave testimony on why they shouldn't have mandates and everything for children. I can't think of another politician, not Donald Trump, not Ron DeSantis, not anyone else who took their personal time to go around and do things like that, who's lobbied on behalf of the people and against big corporations and big industry for decades. If I'm wrong, if you can think of somebody else, please tag them in the comments. Let me know who they are. But I think that you'll struggle to find someone. Other than his work to protect children from the medical industry, he's also done a ton to protect people from big industries basically polluting the world. And this is kind of an area of pushback that I keep getting when I talk about RF Kennedy on social media. People are saying, well, he's a climate change proponent and a lot of stuff like that. So I just want to say, I found an article which I shared to my Twitter. Please read the articles from Children's Health Defense and articles, interviews, podcasts by RFK to see how he actually plans to go about changing, environmental issues and climate stuff. He's a big proponent of pretty much just putting restrictions on big business, big industries so that they can't go and pollute your backyard and then just tell you, sorry, meanwhile they're lobbying to Congress and there you are just totally helpless. So people are like, well, isn't that government interference? I mean, we have a government, we have a legal system. And so I'm going to say the same thing that I always tell other libertarians or anybody when they say, are you a statist? What kind of a law are you, promoting right now? I say, if there are going to be laws, they ought to protect the individual from big industry. And that's what I'm always going to say. These laws and stuff, the things that he talks about that I've read personally, none of them are saying that you or I are going to have to change our individual daily lives. It has a lot more to do with how big corporations are basically polluting our backyards. So that's my thoughts on the climate agenda. Let me know if you have additional information, throw it in the comments or go over to Twitter and send me a message. But there's another one. So people are very up in arms about the fact that back in 2017, 2018, he made several tweets. And most people have only produced one. I actually went back to his Twitter account and found, a couple more. But tweets that seem to be kind of anti to Second Amendment. They seem to be kind of saying that the NRA, since they lobby for gun rights, is responsible for injuries to children to do with gun violence. Those tweets end in 2018. I couldn't find anything newer than that. So here's what I'm going to say on this issue. If you have more information than a couple of tweets from 2018, please put them in the comments. Please send me that information so I can review it and talk about it. But the thing is that we all underwent a change. He might have already been fighting the good fight as far as big pharma and climate and everything like that, or environmentalism mostly. But the thing is that 2020 happened to him too. So there's a big chance that when he started to get censored, he learned a lot about the First Amendment. There's a big chance that when he saw lockdowns, mandates, things like that, that he might have rethought the Second Amendment and his stances there. So we don't want to jump right on him and say, you said this, 5 years ago? Because I said a lot of things and I thought a lot of things 5 years ago that I completely disagree with now. So we need to look into that further. We need to get his input on what does he think now about gun rights? Does he realize what a slippery slope it is? Is he more pro Second Amendment? What is his stance there? We need to find out from him to make an informed decision. And then the last thing that a lot of people have been pushing back, telling me, is that he's a socialist, but they have not been able to produce any evidence. I've followed Robert F. Kennedy for quite a long time. Like I said, read his book, listened to his podcast, read Children's Health Defense. I actually have not heard him speak on economic policy very much at all. So if you have input there and you have, you're privy to some information that I am not, again, please put it in the comments because we need to investigate on this stuff. We need to talk about it. We need to do videos on it, share it on social media. And then we need to get his current stance on that topic so that we can make an informed decision if he is the person that we will want to represent us moving forward in 2024. So I hope that this video was a little bit helpful. I want y'all to think very strongly about putting support behind Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right away and adamantly. The reason that I say that is because he is the one candidate that can shake things up. Between Instagram and Twitter, I've already seen very right-leaning people say, I would vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And a lot of people have also said the Democratic Party will never let this happen. So here's a couple of things that can come from this. Number one, if we put enough, support and everything behind him early on, and we kind of push those other candidates, to the sidelines, showing that he's the one we care about because of his strong stance on health freedom and big pharma, we have the ability to make those other candidates pander to us and start to make us promises and start to stand a little bit further and further onto the platform of health freedom and restricting big pharma. We also get this topic talked about in mainstream media, which they've already shown that they're softening their no talk about RFK stance, because I've seen multiple mainstream media articles talking about how he's running on the Democratic ticket, that he filled out his information. And only a few of them even use the word anti-vaxxer in the headline. So if we can get him in the mainstream media, this conversation is going to blow up, across the nation. And only good things can come of that because more people will be educated, more people will see his work, more people will understand the dangers of some of the pharmaceuticals and the stronghold that they have on the political system. The last thing that can happen is that even if he doesn't win the Democratic primary, is there a possibility that he could then go and run as a third candidate? I'm not sure exactly how that works. I'd have to investigate further. But I really think that if there was somebody, and actually Huey Media was the first person who talked about this. Shout out to him on Twitter, follow him on Instagram. But basically, he could unite the parties. You know, we have such an issue with the duopoly. Everyone is tired of the duopoly. We're tired of being owned by big pharma, big industry. We're tired of being sold out to these industries by our government, who is supposed to represent us. So if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can come along and we can have people from the left, people from the right unite behind him, and he stays principled and doesn't take big pharma money and big donor money and sell us all out, then we have a chance for an actual change. And there's nothing more exciting in life than to realize that there could be an actual change, that things don't have to be the way that they've always been, that somebody has actually put in enough work, you know, stood on principle long enough and fought the good fight for the people in the trenches long enough that they actually can get their way out and help us to have a better future for our children. So that's why I'm excited about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as a candidate. That is why I will change my registration to Democrat and vote for him in the primaries if he's to make it that far. I have already signed up to look into volunteering for his campaign because he's a candidate I believe in. I'm not excited about who's going to be president literally ever, but this time I am, because he's done so much for health freedom, so much for children. And obviously, I still think we need to find out those other issues, you know, as far as economic policy, as far as Second Amendment rights, and as far as, you know, climate, his stance towards climate and the environment. Obviously, we know he's an environmentalist, but what is his climate change stance? But if all that looks good, I think that he is the person to stand behind. And if all that doesn't look good, I think it's good to have him try to reconsider his stances on those and gain support from both the right and the left. These are my thoughts, and I want to know what y'all think in the comments. Please let me know. Are you interested in him as a candidate, or are you nervous because he is a Democrat? Only you can decide that. Only you can decide if you're going to rethink your stance, but I would strongly say that you should look into him further. But if you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up and a comment. And if you didn't like this video, please leave me a nasty comment. If that's not good enough, hop on over to Twitter and leave me a mean comment there. And if you're still not satisfied, you can go to Instagram and send me a DM telling me how much you didn't like my video. But that's all I have for y'all today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and Easter's coming up. So hope you all have a great Easter. And that's all.